The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
Welcome to the West Tigers podcast, episode 464. Back again for another midweek, and once again, Nick here. I'm your host, back in the host's seat. Joel, thank you for letting me hold this promotion. I feel very special to be in charge of the microphone again.
Oh, thank you for doing it. It's nice to be able to sit here and not be too worried about what we're going to talk about next, and making sure we follow the plan. So, no, you're doing a good job.
Thank you, Joel, and hello to Jordan. Now, Jordan, great to have you on. I feel like you haven't been on since you picked 3 in a row for us to break that hoodoo, which we did. I feel like you've gone into your shell and maybe you're hiding. I'm not sure if you've realised, but we've lost 2 in a row. So how are you and what's the story?
Yeah, no, I'm good, boys. I'm pretty sure I've been on once, at least once. I can't confirm or deny, but I'll track that down. But, yeah, the 2 losses aren't great. But, just been flat out, just busy with 3 kids, life, house on the market. It's just a crazy time, but still plenty of time to sit there depressed after a loss. So working through all that.
I got 3 kids too, Jordan. I don't know how you think about it, but at what point did you realise you made a mistake?
The fact that I coach, the fact that I coach all 3 of them in sport, the fact that I coach 2 rugby league teams, a soccer team. I assist coach for an Open 35s women's soccer team. I don't have much of a life outside of sport. So that was probably when my daughter first started playing soccer all those years ago, and she wouldn't take the field without holding my hand. And that's when I started being a coach, and I haven't stopped since. And that's 12 years running now.
Yeah, well, I've only just got into coaching. So my 10-year-old, my middle boy, I've got 3 boys. My middle boy plays for the Dundas Shamrocks, which is his very first season. And unfortunately, there were too many kids in the squad this year to maintain one team. So we've only just split. But of course, that means an extra set of parent helpers, an extra coach, an extra manager, an extra trainer. So yours truly put his hand up to coach. So I'm probably just following in your footsteps a little bit with the coaching. But it's an interesting scenario, trying to manage a whole bunch of 10-year-olds at training, and especially on game day, and trying to get them to listen is very challenging. So,
mate, the kids are the easy part. It's the parents. Yeah. Parents are the ones you got to worry about most. But mate, it's like the mafia. Once you're in, you're never getting out. So enjoy it. You'll be doing it for a while.
A bit like this podcast. Everyone that comes along, like Aaron, I said,
mate, just being a West Tigers fan, it feels like there's no way out.
Exactly right.
Exactly right. Well, it is good to have you back, Jordan. And since you're back, I know we had our pod a couple of nights ago, our match review after the Storm loss, but just your thoughts on that loss. Obviously, our 2nd in a row and 2 heavy defeats. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, playing against the Storm with their backs against the wall in Melbourne was always going to be a concern, especially with all the stuff coming out. Like I'll give the Storm credit. They've had a rough trot. They've had some very, very serious outside issues between Eli Katoa and Kamikamitha, and then the Bellamy story. So credit to them for coming in the game. But that opening 15 minutes killed us. But in saying that, and I know a few people say it here and there, and it's not an excuse, man up mentality, but we had 6 starting players missing.
Yeah.
Not just 6 players, 6 starting players, 6 and 3 of our 4 spines. So it is a massive task for any team. You ask any team to take your leading meter eater and your props, your most damaging forward on the edge, your speed in your fullback, your runner in your halfback, and then your Mr. Everything in your hooker and Api Coruscant, you're going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So but the worst part is that game couldn't start it worse than any other performance I've seen. But again, and I hate it, I don't want to be that person, but the refereeing, the officiating in that game was nothing but terrible. I've never been a fan of Adam G, and he just solidified for that me, because that opening 15, he pinned us for everything, but then the moment we got the ball, the ruck rules changed.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating.
I don't mind if you're doing a poor job of refereeing, but be consistent at least with what you are refereeing on that day. Yeah, and
Correct.
that's when it gets frustrating. A rule for one and a rule for another. After having calmed down and putting the game a little bit more in the rear view mirror, I guess and what you're saying, Jordan, is that it's not really a reflection on the team. It's more a reflection on the squad, and that is a lot. You could probably make this case for every NRL team. Once you start getting past player 21, 22, you're going to find guys that really are just bit players. And unfortunately, we've got too many of them in the team at the moment.
100%. We've got 4 or 5 players in our top 30 squad that will never see first grade. You've got Will Craig, who is not going to re-sign. That's fine. You got Kit Lalili, who unfortunately not exactly sure what's going on there, but he had a concussion in the preseason and he hasn't played since. You got Solomon Sakuru, who seemed to have bits and pieces that potentially looked like he could get there.
Yeah.
But he's just never fulfilled that potential. So you're carrying 3 or 4 guys there in the top 30 squad that aren't even that you've got train and trial players jumping over them and taking their spots. So that doesn't help. But in saying that, I think we are building a bit more depth. We definitely need to focus on depth for signings next year. Maybe one decent upgrade player, but I would be focusing more on depth signings, building that squad of fringe players who have the skill, who aren't quite cracking it, who can actually do that next man up mentality. So it's hard when you're carrying, I hate to call people this, but you're carrying dead weight in a squad. You can't afford that.
It makes you realise, sorry, Nick, just how much dead weight we've had, over the last few years, where this is sort of, we've cleaned out a fair bit and we've still got a little bit. That's a terribly disrespectful, horrible thing to say, but we're talking about professional athletes and there's a few guys there that probably just aren't at that level.
Yeah, I think you're both spot on. I think it's fairly clear to see that, I've mentioned scar tissue the other night on the pod, but when you start to scratch the surface in terms of our top players when we do get injuries or suspensions, especially in key positions, and you start looking at who can fill those spots, so it is starting to get a little bit frail. I know we were a bit unlucky as well with Terrell being pulled out the last minute on the weekend against Melbourne, but even with Bunty, I was pumped to watch Bunty because I haven't seen him in Cup. I've just, I obviously know about the legend of Bunty Afoa, backfence Bunty and all that, so I was really excited to watch him. And actually, Jordan, your thoughts on Bunty, right? Because I know we got absolutely steamrolled the first 10, 15, 20 minutes against the Storm. And yeah, a lot of that was to do with the momentum and refereeing decisions and maybe some poor defence. But do you think Bunty was a part of that? And I know I have listened to a few other pods with people picking Bunty apart. Like, what was your take on Bunty on the weekend?
I think it's more to do with this 6-man bench thing, which is the kind of issue that we're going to see going forward. You've got, and the same for Tristan Hope. I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think he's a first grade player by any stretch of the means, but the guy had played 40 minutes in a month.
Yeah.
So, and the same with Bunty. They kept being in and around that squad, and then they kept pulling late from New South Wales Cup, or they've got no consistency and they've got no match fitness. Bunty went from making his debut on the bench to having to go to the starting squad, and then we end up having the worst 15 minutes in the last few years. So I think conditions and sort of kind of game management, I think that falls more on the coaching staff than actually the players themselves. So I do feel the jury's out sort of on Bunty. Hope for me, I don't want to see him anywhere near first grade. The guy's he's too slow. He's too slow off the ground. He doesn't pass off the ground, and he takes away so much time from our forwards, and we just go nowhere with him in hooker. But Bunty, I'd give him another chance. I'd like to see him at least get sort of kind of 4 or 5 New South Wales Cup games together, and then come back into the squad. But yeah, coming in for a debut when you're meant to hit the field when a team's tired, and then starting, it's a tough ask.
I don't think Royce Hunt just we will never know. But if Royce Hunt had been called up to start, I don't think the performance would have been much different, to be honest. Like, I think that's pretty much what those kind of players bring. We
Agreed.
also have a bit of a different sample size with Bunty, who always played out of his skin against us. So our expectations of him are a little bit raised in that regard. Maybe there's a reason why he hasn't been in the first grade team so far this year. Just one quick question. We haven't sort of spoken about it, and it's probably moot because Latu's starting at hooker this week, and then it's the bye, and then Appy is back. But do you think that this is something that, in hindsight, we've got wrong in terms of having a little bit more depth at hooker? I mean, Appy's not been the kind of guy since he's been at the Tigers, that's played every week. There's always been a part of the season where, for one reason or another, he's been absent. So do you think that, Nick? Do you think that's something that, I know in hindsight it's easy to say, but we needed a bit more of an option there instead of Tristan Hope?
I wonder whether Benji was hinging his bets that Appy would be able to play 80 minutes or longer minutes this season compared to last year, which I don't know if that's the right way to manage Appy at his age. I just have a feeling that maybe that is one position that Benji didn't think was a priority to place as a backup. And I know we've got Jared Hayward in the works, and he's only a youngster.
Yeah.
But I've said it before a couple of times on recent pods. I'd still love to see Jared get a start, even off the bench for limited time, 10, 15, 20 minutes, even at the most, maybe in the second half, just to see what he can do. And we did see him play in the trials, and I thought he was good. And that was against, NRL or very close to NRL players. So he's played against adults, albeit in a trial. But yeah, Tristan Hope, well, he's been benched this week, hasn't he? So it's going to be. We'll talk about the team makeup a little bit later, but it'd be very interesting to see how Latu goes. He's not a hooker, and I do feel a bit sorry for Latu because he's still young, and I don't know if he knows what his position is. I know he's been spoken about as a half long term, then he's been spoken about morphing into a 13, and here he's putting a 9 jumper on. So I just love watching Latu play. I hope he gets a good opportunity to show what he can do, and I'm sure we're going to see Tristan Hope at some point. They're going to have to rotate somehow because I can't see Latu playing in the 9 jersey for the entire 80 minutes on the weekend. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that one. But I was actually going to start with a little trivial thing, but since we're talking Tigers, I might just jump into the big news, which came out, is it yesterday now? On Tito Taruva, Sunya Taruva, extending to the end of 2030, which is unbelievable news. And I just want to give a massive congratulations and props to the club as a whole, but Sean Milcamp. We talked about it last week. He just keeps getting stuff done. Like, this is a massive coup, especially off the back of Jerome signing with PNG a couple of weeks ago. We've had, Buller extending or, agreeing to stay on, and we've had the May brothers say that they're going to stay, followed by the Taruva news, which is incredible. Joel, honestly, Taruva is probably one of those boys I thought may follow Romy out the door, especially with that big money and with his, Penrith connection. There's stories about some of the Penrith boys coming off contract and wanting to go to market November 1. So to lock down Taruva, a play of his capabilities at the age of 23, mind you. I can't believe how young he is. I think it's massive.
Yep. And the funny thing is, his re-signing is a lot like how he first originally signed with the Tigers. There was, I think, one newspaper article several weeks before he signed with us saying that we were talking to him, and then all of a sudden, bang, it happened. And it was just like the re-signing, where there hadn't been much talk about it happening, and there he is until the end of 2030. I think it's great. I mean, we rap him all the time for being tough and tenacious, but and he brings a lot of good for the camaraderie of the team by the look of it as well. He's a very popular guy, but I would suggest he's probably the leader of our backline, and I think losing him would have been a significant backstep for us. It also goes and adds to what I harp on about, which is stability, and I'm really liking that. Although yes, we're going to lose Luai, the core of this team is staying together, and that can only be a good thing, to be stable, to be consistent, and then just strengthen around it. And you can sort of see what they're doing. And so far, as you say, Sean seems to be getting more things right than wrong, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so Jordan, we've got Buller now long-term at 1. We've got, Uppy's going to be there for a couple of seasons. He's our 9 with Hayward in the works, which is fantastic. We've got the May brothers, so we've got centre and prop there extended. We've got Taruva now out in the wing till 2030 which I think coincides with Benji's contract ending as well. So this is really nice that they're kind of looks like they're very aligned to Benji and they want to stick out the course, which is great. Firstly, your thoughts on Taruva extending and what that means for the club, and also who's next? Because I know that we've got the Fainu brothers, not Sione. We've got Latu and Samuela that we would like to extend, at least out to meet Sione's contract end date, which I think is 2029, if I'm correct, end of 29.
Yeah, the Taruva signing was fantastic. As Joel mentioned, the fact that it came out of the blue, like you're just sitting there, minding your own business, and then the members' email comes through, and it's like, bang, he's signed for another 3 years. It's fantastic. I've got a reference for a player like Taruva. They're the boombox man. Every team needs one, that kind of person who brings the energy, brings the music, brings that camaraderie, as you said, brings those teams together. They're the glue of a kind of squad that you want to build around. And the main difference with someone like that is not just what you see with the enthusiasm, but it's the sort of kind of support they can give players in private. He's that kind of player that people might have, confidence issues. Someone like Makasini, he seems like the kind of player that Makasini could turn to and go to. Is like, mate, hey, what do I do here? And he just goes, mate, back yourself. So it was a massive signing. I'm really, really happy that he's staying around. My only concern with all these contracts that they're finishing in 2030. Like we're setting ourselves up for, obviously if we have success and Benji's there and we can do all that. But I'd like the next couple to be kind of stagnant. I don't want the whole squad coming off in 2030. That's just setting us up for pain if I'm honest, just playing devil's advocate there. But yeah, definitely. And next target's the Fainus. I think that's a fait accompli. I really do. With how Latu speaks of Benji, with how Samuela speaks of Benji, Sione being there. You talk about hooker depth. I think there's a very, very good chance, if not a New South Wales Cup contract, that someone like Manasi will be at the club next year. He's the kind of project player that Benji would like, just to sort of kind of take under the wing, reform, that kind of thing, give him a second chance. So there's an option there. But yeah, I think the Fainus are fait accompli. And then once those two are re-signed, to be perfectly honest, I'm happy if anyone else who's off contract is gone.
Very true.
Focused.
How old is Manasi?
24, I think. 24, 25?
27. I've just Googled.
Oh, he's 27.
He's 27.
So he must be the eldest Fainu.
Yeah, he would be. So that would be interesting because if we did bring him across, so he'll be 28 next season. If my maths is correct, 27 plus 1, that makes it 28. So, and he wouldn't have played for a while either. So that'd be interesting to see what happens in terms of backup hookers there. But I guess we'll wait and see. With the
in the lower grades, hooker is actually a position that we actually have quite covered. Not just behind Jared Hayward, you've got a young player from out our area called Brooklyn Milford. And he is a very, very strong defensive and smart footballer. But yeah, just on from what you were saying earlier in relation to Hayward, I would not put him anywhere near first grade until he's at least played 4 or 5 New South Wales Cup games. There's no point chucking him straight into first grade just yet until he's at least played a few New South Wales Cup games. But hooker depth in the future, we're good. At the moment, we're a bit light.
We just got to get there.
Yeah.
I was just going to raise the point, like if we were to bring the fourth Fainu brother in, then that gives us a little bit more cover at hooker. I think there's only one real glaring position that I want us to strengthen next year. And does anybody know what that is?
Fullback?
No, right centre.
Yeah. Yeah, we are definitely lacking depth in the outside backs. And I think Nick made a point of it in relation to this week, our height difference in our wingers against Manly's wingers. Like, that genuinely, I know we'll get into that later, but that genuinely concerns me.
You'd think that Makasini is going to long-term get back in and claim that wing spot. I mean, that seems to be, it doesn't appear to be Skelton. Leilili's leaving. Just surely Makasini's going to be back in first grade and back on the wing, you would think. I don't see him being selected at right centre, and they're both left centres. So I think a right centre that's on my Christmas wish list.
Yeah, I don't know what the go is with Skelton. He seems to definitely, and there's a lot of chatter going around that Parramatta are trying to pick him up before
Yeah.
June 30. So,
So who are we trying to pick up? That there's maybe a logjam. Yeah.
yeah, not wrong.
Mitchell Moses.
No, it doesn't necessarily be from Parramatta, but
I'll
anyway.
become a Bears fan before that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine Mitchell Moses
Persona
back.
persona non grata.
Yeah,
Mitchell
maybe
Moses.
maybe we can get a deal with Mitchell Moses and a box of tissues. But anyway, that's probably not going to happen. Just while we're still talking about the Fainu brothers, I just want to quickly mention and maybe ask you, Joel, the impact of Samuela being on the sideline until round 22 is massive. I was having a chat with one of the guys that actually listens to our pod during the week about Samuela, and I honestly think he's close to the most important forward that we have in our pack. I know Terrell is extremely important in the middle, and he just eats up meters every single game, plays a lot of minutes. But the way Samuela is developing, he's extremely strong in defence, and as an attacking weapon, we're really, really missing him at the moment.
When you look back at the history of the West Tigers, we've had some very good back rowers, second rowers, but we've for so long looked at other teams like Souths and Manly at different times, and we've thought, geez, I'd really love to have that guy playing in the back row for us. And now we've got one. We've got a guy that's as good as any of those. Unfortunately, not available this week. But yeah, and only just over that hump of 50 games, so he'll only get better. He provides an attacking threat. He runs a good line. He's up there when the bombs go up, and he's a fantastic player. A lot of his work actually goes unnoticed. But yeah, we're missing him big time.
And his ability to offload, we've
Yeah.
seen him do some incredible offloads.
Yeah.
Jordan, you look like you
Yeah,
want to. That's
yeah.
him.
No, I was just going. He's what you refer to as a presence player.
Mm.
He's that one that players in defence look for because you're worried you're going to get hit by him, and in attack you're worried about him whether he has the ball or not. And that's the kind of thing that Luai was relying on. Like a lot of the breaks and the line breaks he was doing was set up because we would go the first 2 or 3 times down his side and we wouldn't give it to him. And it would make the defence lax because they're like, okay, they're using him as a dummy runner. Then you just have to pull the trigger. And next, he's breaking through. But not just that, his kick chase. His kick chase was huge. The amount of times that he would be the first person down there, and I think 99 times out of 100 he would make the tackle, but his kick chase and presence for returns was a huge factor, and that's something that we're missing because we were containing teams to their end, and at the moment, I know the last 2 weeks, and it's different with everyone we're missing, but we're not doing the same. We are not containing teams to their half like we were a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
Yeah, that's where I feel it's a massive step down when you lose someone like Samuela, like Kai Pearce-Paul when we lost him a couple of weeks ago. You take him out of that starting team, it's very, very difficult to not just find someone that can do a job, but get anywhere close to that sort of standard. What I like about Samuela too, and what we've lost, is I think he complements Kai Pearce-Paul. The two of them on either side of the field not just balance each other out in height, but also ability and what they bring on either side of the ruck as well. Like they're both so strong in defence and equally as good in attack. So it's a massive out. But anyway, we won't have Samuela for quite a while now. So we'll just have to make do. I just want to. Sorry, Joel, did you have anything else?
I was going to say, there was some shades of the Luai and Kikau combinations sort of really building between Luai and Samuela that they can't go that shouldn't go unnoticed. Like they were working well together. But
100%, and it's just a shame that we don't get to watch that for a while. Now, Jordan, I'm glad you're here because I just want to mention, and I don't mention it because I don't watch many other games apart from NRL West Tigers games, to be honest, because like you, I've got 3 kids and life is very busy, but West Tigers pathways. So I did have a quick look at one of the news stories on the website during the week, and I didn't even realise that our Flegg team beat the Storm 28-20 on the weekend, and our Cup side beat the Storm 38-22. So 2 huge wins for our lower or junior grades or lower grades, which is fantastic. Maybe I'll cling on to whichever side is winning on the weekend just to make me feel a little bit happier. But your take on who we've got coming up, and there's a few names that I just want to throw out there because they're names that I have heard of, don't know a great deal about, but I'm very keen to know about their progress. The first one, Logan Brookes, fullback. Another Brookes, in the West Tigers club. I know Joel's mentioned it's
Another
too
L
soon to be
Brookes.
talking about another Brookes, but there's an E in there, so it's not quite Brooksy. But what's your thoughts on Logan?
He's how to describe it. He's a very exciting fullback. He's got a lot of football knowledge for his age, for someone as young as him. He's got that explosive speed. He's very much a eyes up footballer. I haven't seen a great deal of him, but what I have seen and some of the highlights I've seen of him, a lot of people seem to think that he has what it takes to be an NRL fullback. He's obviously a little bit while away, but he's making that step up at the moment, and probably between him and Attard in the future, obviously now that we've got Buller locked up as well, it's going to be interesting to see how we manage to retain a lot of these kids, because they're not going to wait for Buller. Like, that's another 4 years away. So he's a very exciting, very explosive, not the biggest player out there, but he's very fast. Like, I saw him the other week in open space, and he just smoked anyone around him.
When you say not the biggest, is that in terms of height or size? Because he's only young.
Mainly height. But he, obviously he can still grow and he can get a little bit taller. But he reminds me very much of a Jai Gray kind of stature. But
like a Heath Mason stature, then
not that small. But yeah, he definitely has what it looks at the moment, and he's holding himself against much older players at the moment too.
Can he play any other position other than fullback?
5'8". He's played 5'8" a little bit in the juniors as well. But he's really come into his own in the one.
Okay, good to know. The next player, obviously everyone's spoken about and heard of, Javon Andrews. So he keeps being named on the extended bench. So he must be getting close. I think Benji's just given him a sniff.
A very big half. He's a big boy, and he's still got some development to do. Reminds me size-wise very much of a young Terry Campese. Junior Queensland representative player, smart, very light on his feet, very good with his hands. But the thing I love most about him is his eyes. He will trick you with his eyes. He likes to play out the back. You think he's playing short, but the next thing you know, he'll make you look stupid. He's got a very deceptive set of hands, very soft set of hands. Still a long way to go. I was very surprised to see him on the extended bench. But, as the old saying goes, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So I will be interested to see if he does crack first grade, if, obviously Dewey would be out with a bit, if Benji feels the halves aren't doing a job and he wants to throw him in there. I wouldn't say no. He's got the size to handle himself, and he's a good defender. He's actually a pretty decent defender for a half. He does get caught out sometimes if he's got to turn his feet, but one-on-one, he'll cut you in half.
So apart from a few highlights, Joel, I've only seen Javon in the trial I think it was at Leichhardt, where he didn't look out of depth at all. I thought like Jordan saying, he looked like a real natural footballer with a lot of natural skills. He had a really good ability to show and go. He had a really nice pass. Like Jordan saying, he's got that deceptiveness where he can look one way and he knows who's around him. An article actually read, it may have been on our website, West Tigers website during the week, about Javon Andrews in a recent performance. 2 words to sum him up: classy and brilliant. So anytime those words are mentioned about any player, they've got to be a good footballer.
And surely it has to be a factor in letting Luai go. I mean, if you think about Luai for another 18 months and you give Javon Andrews maybe a bit of a taste at some point this year, maybe he plays a larger role next year and we transition across. It seems to be that's what the plan is. I like a big, strong 5'8" that's creative and deceptive and can tackle, and it all sounds really, really promising. And as I might have said, a real left side player as well, just like Luai. I don't know how he'll go with Dewey. I mean, that would be an interesting combination. Certainly unorthodox halves pairing those two would be, but we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But it's exciting when you look at this list of players and you look at the guys that are not, they used to be a fair way off and they're getting a little bit closer all the time. If we can continue to bring from within, it changes so much.
It does, yeah. He's definitely a name that I'm looking forward to watching coming up through the ranks. And the only other one I had written down, and feel free to add any others, Jordan, but Ethan Roberts, it sounds like we're going to get a look at him this week because I'm not sure if you saw, but there was West Tigers put out a video of Benji announcing the team and announcing who's making their debut this week. And Ethan was called out, and I don't think he clicked straight away that it was his name that was being read out, but it sounds like we're going to get to see him play. So I don't know if there's going to be a reshuffle and whether he comes into the back row perhaps for Sione, maybe, or maybe he's just going to play some limited minutes off the bench. But I know he's a big boy, and I know Joel spoke about him during the off-season as a potential starter either in lock or back row, but what have you seen from Ethan, and what do you think? How do you think he's going to go this week?
A Roosters mate of mine, when we signed him, was actually very, very disappointed. He was very disappointed that they lost him. TV doesn't do him justice. He is a big unit.
Yeah.
I
6'5", I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 192 centimeters and 109 kilos, I think his official card is. But it's not just that. He's a well-rounded size. Like, he's got good leg strength. He's got a good body size. He doesn't shy away from the hard work, but he runs a good line. And he runs a great line, and he can offload as well. He's got a very great mould for a back rower, and he can hit. There was a game, I think it was his New South Wales Cup debut for us. I can't remember who he levelled, but he caught someone on the inside, and even my ribs hurt. I'll be interested to see if it's a change where Benji thinks to put Sione from the second row into the prop rotation, and then give him a few minutes in second row. I did see the video. I love the fact that he looked behind him because he thought they were talking about someone else, and then it clicked that it was actually him. Yeah. But yeah, he's a big unit. I'm excited to see what he can bring. We seem to be making a lot of pathways. You've said, and to mention anyone else, we just recently signed a Southwest junior from Campbelltown City Roos called Glassy. Love the name. Very strong centre, and he had Union sniffing around him. He was very much a Union boy. We've signed from the last club meeting I was at. I think the club has recently signed up to about 11 juniors from Southwest.
Wow.
Including two brothers from, I think they're also from the Roos as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the club is making moves in the lower ranks and making sure that these kids don't hit the open market, which is great to see. But I actually hope Ethan Roberts gets a decent amount of minutes because he could cause some problems.
Yeah.
Joel, looking forward to watching Ethan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be starting him. I think if you're making your debut, I think sometimes you're better off just starting and just getting it out of the way and get out there, rather than being on the bench and the nerves building and then you don't know what kind of game it's going to be. And I think we've been better, albeit not against Cronulla, but previously with Sione coming off the bench and into that proper rotation.
You might find that could be a late change.
Yeah.
He might throw him straight in and Sione goes back to the bench.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. If it happened, I wouldn't mind it. Correct. Any other players, Jordan, that's worth mentioning from the lowers?
I think it's Taiafuya is Xavier from the Jersey Flegg, the centre. He's strong. He's a big, strong kid. He reminds me of a very young Israel Folau. But the Jersey Flegg's doing well. I think they're sitting either equal second or first at the moment, or equal first. So it's great to see a lot of the junior ranks going through. Obviously, we had the Andrew Johns Cup win it as well. The Laurie Daly Cup went through and won it as well. And 90% of them were all Southwest Sydney kids. So it's great to see that the Southwest is producing all this talent that they've finally started to mine into.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
100%.
Before we move on to the next topic, and Jordan, you mentioned before just about the video the club put out and the way Ethan Roberts turned around because he heard the name Robbo and he was a bit confused who he was talking about. The other video, and I'm circling back on Taruva's extension, it was so funny when Benji called him up as if he had something to say, and sort of the boys mumbled a bit and there was a bit of a hush and everyone looked a bit worried. But Taruva, unlike the Mays, cannot keep a straight face. He had that sort of smile smirking out from underneath his cheeks, and he was very quick to say, I've signed until 2030. Turn around, and that twerk that he did was hilarious. I was laughing so hard.
Maybe Ethan thought that James Roberts was going to be playing right this
Yeah.
week.
Very possibly. Joel, can you twerk?
No,
Jordan, you a twerker?
that's not my kind of thing.
I'll end up throwing my back out if I try.
I had a quick go in the mirror last night. Not very good, so I won't be doing that on
Is
YouTube.
that what you said or your wife said?
There's a visual I'm never going to get into my head.
I'll send you a video later. But moving off twerking,
As long as you're not doing it outside of Silverwater Prison.
no. Well, the wall's pretty high, so you'd have to be up. One of the guards could probably see me up in the tower, but the inmates, I don't think they'd be able to see me. But no, I won't do that as I go
All I
past.
could think of just then was longest yard and the male prisoners dressed as female. Yeah. Anyway, off a tangent.
While we're on a good thing, let's go into some buy, sell, hold. So I've got a few here and a few that we've already kind of covered, but while it's relevant, why not continue? So the first one, boys, I'll go to you, Joel. Samuela Fainu is more important to our side's balance than Terrell May. So when you take in everything into account about what the both of them bring, and it's both different, but now that we're without Samuela for quite a long time, and we're now sort of a bit short in terms of what he brings in attack and defence. We also saw what we missed out with Terrell in the middle on the weekend, but is that a buy, sell, or a hold for you, Sam or Terrell?
Oh, I'm going to buy it. Yeah, no disrespect for about in regards to Terrell. I'm really glad at what he's brought to the club, and he's great to have. But if I had to make the choice, Samuela's got just that little bit more class. Obviously, different players, different roles. I would not want to lose Samuela at this point.
Jordan, what about you, mate? Because when I think about it, I actually would probably buy it as well. That Sam Fainu is more important to our size balance. However, we saw how easily we were carved up the middle without Terrell on the weekend against the Storm. So it's an interesting question to pose.
No, it's not for me. I'd buy that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Terrell's a numbers man. Terrell's a Paul Gallen. He is the one who punches out large numbers, gets through a lot of work, doesn't discredit what he does. Is he going to change a game with a run? No. Is he going to change a game with line speed or chasing down a kicker or whatever? No. Samuela, 100%. Very different dynamic, very different thing. Terrell doesn't get a lot of accolades for everything that he does do, but at the same time, he is a numbers prop. He pushes out big minutes, big numbers, big work rate, but does it have the same impact as Samuela? No, it doesn't.
If you were to rank the current West Tigers squad in terms of just overall ability, overall class, overall ability, from 1 to 30, I think Samuela would be in the top 3.
Easily.
Yeah, and Terrell would be probably around your 5, 6, 7 sort of mark.
Yeah, Samuela definitely in the top 3. Yeah, I'm probably got Terrell maybe just a little bit lower, but again, it's not to discredit what he does.
No,
he does a lot of work.
Yeah, different roles.
Yeah, different roles, massively different roles.
It makes a very interesting talking or discussion point there. So some good input there, boys. Now, the second one, a little bit relevant to the news today about Ivan Cleary announcing that he's not going to extend at Penrith beyond the end of next year. So the question is, buy, sell, hold, West Tigers should make an offer to get Nathan Cleary to the club for 2028.
Wow.
Joel.
I'm going to sell that. I don't want any Cleary anywhere near West Tigers ever again. Thank you very much.
Short and simple, Jordan?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate the same thing Joel just said. Yeah, I'd sell that. I wouldn't trade Cleary for anyone we've got at the club at the moment. Just too much bad history.
So if Jerome hadn't signed with PNG and said he was going to stay on and extend, would that change your minds about Nathan Cleary? Because for me, 100% it would.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's probably the best player in the game. I get it, but we have to also be in the real world as to what kind of money he would want to come to the West Tigers, and all of those implications of paying 2 halves, 1.2 million or more each. Like it's just not feasible. It's probably, like, would you rather fly tomorrow or drive? Like you flap your wings and fly. You'd rather fly than drive, but it's not going to happen. So it's not worth talking about.
Yeah, it depends how far I'm traveling, but no, I get your point. No, that's
With
fair enough.
with that, with the Luai thing, no, it wouldn't change my mind. Is he one of the best players we've seen? Yes, he is definitely up there.
Mm.
Is he one of the best all-round players we've ever seen? Personally, no, I don't agree. He's a great club player. Whether you get the same out of him if you put him in another club, I'm not 100% sure. We'll never know. But look at him in Origin. Look at him, you look at players like Lockyer, Johns, Fittler, whatever jersey they put on, they were the same player. Nathan is not. He is a system player who is amazing at what he does. That Brisbane grand final when he scored that try and picked them apart, that is still one of the best performances I've ever seen from a rugby league player ever. But I do not believe it is the same if you put him outside of the Penrith system. And he's proven that on the international stage and also on the Origin stage, where those great players can do it wherever they go.
Yeah,
he had his chance to join our great club and he fluffed it.
did.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he did. While we're on the Clearys, and I don't want to dig too deep, but Ivan Cleary, when he left the Tigers, I remember he was asked in a press conference why he was going back to the Panthers, and in very Ivan Cleary fashion, he kept it very short. He looked in the camera and he said, "Unfinished business."
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got unfinished business at the Tigers. Maybe he can come back and be a cleaner. Maybe we need to sign someone up like Ivan to clean the
Bus driver.
at Concord. He could drive the bus.
He can be the bus driver.
He could be the bus driver. Yeah, I agree with that one. All right, let's move on to the third one. Bicycle hold Jared Haywood, and we've spoken about him, will debut in the NRL this year. Which I wonder if it might be dependent on what happens with Appy the back half of the year.
100%. Yeah, I think.
Sorry, go, Joe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Benji sustains a long-term injury or does another hip drop tackle, then the chances of him making a debut, I think, are very, very good. If Benji comes back and he consistently plays big minutes, then I don't see what the rush is.
Jordan?
Yeah, I'm holding on that one. Yeah, obviously circumstantial, but as I mentioned earlier, I would not be playing him in first grade until he has at least played 4 or 5 cup games.
Yep.
There is no need to rush him. He does have talent, but I just don't think he is physically up to the weekly grind.
Yep. Can agree with that.
Did you see that stat of the amount of points that West Tigers have conceded in the 2 games and the 10 minutes without our inspirational number 9? It's pretty scary. Just
very scary.
It's not to say that that it would be totally different if Appy was available, but yeah, it's amazing what he brings to the team.
Yeah, a lot of it unnoticed. I mean, he does miss tackles.
Taken for granted.
Yeah, but what he does in terms of leadership, and he's crafting this out of hooker, and we spoke about that. I remember mentioning it on the pod the other night, like Harry Grant, how he picked apart West Tigers, on the weekend. But he's got that. He's that sort of player. But thank God, there's only 1 game to go, and then the bye, and then we get Uppy back. So I can't wait to see him.
And then 4 straight home games. Like we've been on the road for a while, but that's going to be a big difference as we get 4 straight home games and a couple of pretty lower grade teams. So enough to get us a bit of confidence back.
Yeah, exactly.
Fingers crossed.
All right, so a quick look at the ladder. So we've slipped only 1 spot after last week, so we're down to 6th. We do have a matchup against the 5th place Eagles this week, but just thinking about where we are on the ladder after a couple of heavy losses, the big moving point or discussion point or what you see in the numbers on the ladder is our differential. So obviously those 2 heavy losses have hurt us a lot. I think our points against has gone from, I can't remember what we were averaging, but it was best in the comp.
20. We were second best in the comp. We were averaging under 20.
And now it's up quite a bit. I think we might be 26.
28, I think it was.
28 for and 26 against or something like that average. But yeah, that's had a big impact. But I know it's hypotheticals, and I like thinking and talking about hypotheticals, but if we lose to Manly, we have the potential, depending on results, to almost slip out of the 8. So when I look at the teams under us, and we are equal on points, so we're 12 points, so we're equal with the 5th place Eagles, And then at 7th, we've got Cowboys. 8th, we've got the Knights. And the Dolphins are just under that. But the differentials aren't too different. Now, the Cowboys play the Roosters this week. That'll be a tough game. The Knights will probably beat the Titans. The Dolphins are a little bit lower than us, but they've got the Rabbits, so they'll probably lose that one, you would think. And then the Broncos have got the Warriors, the Sharks have got the Dogs. So they're all the teams that are around us, but potentially we may slip a little bit further. However, we do have the bye. So what do you boys think? I'll ask you, Jordan, first. Is it a big issue if we lose this week going into the bye? I would obviously I'd much rather get the 2 points and bank them to be that bit more comfortable. But would you be concerned if we lose 3 on the trot going into the bye before the Dogs game?
It depends on how we lose. I'm not confident in this game at all. I'd like to be, but I'm not. It will depend on how we lose. If it's a similar style to the Cronulla game, it's a concern. Like, yes, the outs and stuff play a part, but we need to show some fight. The Cronulla game, you look at both the Cronulla and the Melbourne game, they were a game of 2 halves. The first half, we were in it. We were going toe-to-toe with them, and in the second half, it was the most one-sided field possession game I've ever seen in my life. And that just killed us. And then the Melbourne game was the opposite. We were done by 20 minutes in. And then we started to fight back, and we started to show some fight, and then the referee had a difference of opinion and decided to go the other way and make it harder for us again. But we need to start strong. We need to get the ball, get possession, get into the grind like we have been in the previous weeks. And as I said, I'm not confident of winning, but it will depend on how we lose. If we go down by 10 points or less, then it sets us up to sort of kind of go, okay, well, we're getting back into it, have the bye, lick our wounds, Appy comes back, and we go in and hopefully touch up the Dogs.
Yeah, so Joel, I think Jordan's talking about we want to see some resilience there because, like you said, Jordan, we saw a little bit of it in the second half against the Storm on the weekend. We saw a little bit in the first half against the Sharks, but apart from that, it's been a complete disaster for a fortnight. Very different matchup, Joel, because Manly, not overly star-studded. They've got some good players in certain positions, but 5th versus 6th, and they are a born-again team since Kieran Foran's taken over.
Yeah, they're a funny club, aren't they? Where, they're in the doldrums and they change coaches and then all of a sudden they're world beaters. It's incredible how that happens, and it seems to be a real Manly thing for it to happen. Even when you look at their squad, you kind of go, well, it's okay, but it's not fantastic. But they seem to go out there and get the job done, or at least they have in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I was having a look at some stats. Yeah, like we're on the same amount of wins, same amount of losses. They're a little bit better for, a little bit better against those, that Cronulla game, probably the only thing that is the difference between the two teams. And probably two teams that you'd think, even at the beginning of the season, might not be too far away from each other on the ladder at the end of the season. I don't know how that's going to intersect and where we're going and where they're going, but I think it's a really, really important game. I think if we can bank 2 points here, even if it's by 1 point, just get a result out of this game and then go into the bye and get Appy back. And as Jordan was saying, then have those home games and maybe potentially, there's no easy games in the NRL, but slightly easier games. I think it's totally, totally important that we account for ourselves. And the only issue I've got is I don't know where we're going to have to score 26, 28 points to win this game, and I just don't know where we're going to get those points from. That's the only thing is when I look at the team, and it's a shame to say that because we've still got some decent attacking players in that side, but I'm just worried about our 4. I'm just worried about our attack, which, aside from Taylor May and Luke Lely, to his credit last week, we weren't throwing a lot at the Storm, and I just worry about our offense.
Yeah, for me, you could see that in the back half or the second half against the Storm. Like, I thought we had a lot of ball and a lot of opportunity, but I don't think we had a lot of options in terms of what we were going to do when we got towards the red zone.
Well, you take Appy out and you take Buller out and you take Samuela out, there's 3 main attacking threats that
100%
totally absent, totally and obviously missing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to happen when you put half of your team, full half your team with cup players, but
not
which is
Dewey. Not to mention Dewey, of course. As well.
Yes, of course, not to mention Dewey, who's been amazing this year. So, yeah, big change in the way we've been playing. But, yeah, Manly have won 5 of the last 6 since Kieran Foran's taken over, which is incredible. Doesn't make any sense. Actually, a good thing for West Tigers this week is the future immortal Brandon Wakeham is out. So I heard he actually got a week suspension. I'm not sure what he did, but he's out.
He didn't want to play against his dad.
Didn't want to play against his dad. Yeah, bit afraid to see Papa Benji on the weekend, so he won't be there. But
How
that's
is
a
it
big
that
one.
he looks more like Benji Marshall than Jeremy Marshall King looks like Benji? How is
He's
that
saying
possible?
there needs to be some DNA testing done,
let's
Joel.
get the DNA testing done. Yeah, it must be those Kiwi genes, maybe.
But speaking of ins and outs, so obviously we touched on Ethan Roberts is in. Javon Andrews named on the extended bench, and Terrell's back after his partner had a baby during the week. I assume the baby's been born. I know he flew back for the birth, so congratulations, Terrell. I'm sure you're listening as always.
Technically, it would be their baby, not her baby.
It would be their baby, yes. Well, I assume maybe another DNA test required there. But big in for, or an interesting in for Manly. So Jamal Fogarty's back into the team. So
Of course.
yeah, he's going to come back into the side.
Yeah, they get their best player back before playing West Tigers. It's always
That's usually how it rolls. I like Jamal Fogarty. I liked what he did at the Raiders. He's a very structured 7. I can't remember who they had in their 7 alongside Brooksy last week, Jordan. Who played half?
That Humphreys kid.
Yes.
He did all right. He looks a good
I thought
player.
he was pretty good.
Yeah, the Fogarty thing scares me because I hate the idea of watching Heath Mason trying to catch one of his bombs.
Yep.
It is giving me aneurysms because it is the better fullbacks in the game struggle, let alone someone who's already 2 feet off the ground.
Yep. This is very true. I'm worried every time Heath's at the back, to be honest. And it's talking about being a little bit unfair with players coming and playing different positions, like Latu playing at 9 this week. But even Heath was playing. Was he playing centre and was he playing 5'8" in Cup?
He didn't play fullback at all in New South Wales Cup. None.
Yeah, so
and then he got thrown straight into it.
Straight NRL, at fullback. So, he's doing a job. I actually thought he tried very hard last week, but and obviously I'm comparing him to Dream Buller, 2 very, very different styles of players. But anyway, it is what it is. I guess Patrick Herbert gets retained in the centres alongside Taylor May. Taylor May was brilliant last week for us, so I'm always looking forward to watching Taylor play. No change in the halves with Luai Madden. Brooksy on the other side at 6. I know the first game he played against the Tigers after he left us, I think it was at Leichhardt, and I'm pretty sure we pumped Manly by a lot. And he looked a little bit sheepish that night, and I'm hoping he has another quiet game, Joel. You're probably not the biggest Brooksy fan, but I like the kid.
Oh, I never said I didn't like him. I always thought he should have transitioned to hooker. Like I thought he would be a better hooker than he was a halfback. But he needed that change, and I think it's been good for him. It's revitalised him in a lot of ways. He still does Luke Brooks things, but hey, God, he's played a lot of first grade now, and no doubt he will.
He's near 300 games, isn't he?
He'll be out to prove a point, no doubt, against his former club this week.
Yeah, right.
Luke Brooks does Luke Brooks things. He does have a couple of average moments in him, but he's got some brilliance too, and he's always been a great runner of the ball. And if he can catch a few slow or tired West Tigers forwards out of position on the weekend up in Brisbane, we may be in a little bit of trouble, but hopefully we can shut him down. So don't want to see Brooksy have a blunder. I'm a little bit worried because we kind of know what happens when we come up a team against former players or former West Tigers players, that they generally play quite well. But yes, Brandon Wakeham's out. Jake Simpkin comes in starting hooker. Speaking of former West Tigers, and I like Jake. I think he's a really good hooker. I liked him when he was here at our club. Don't want to see him do too well, Jordan, but good kid.
Just work him over defensively.
Yeah.
He does not seem to have the same kind of motor like he did when he was in lower grades. Just got to work him over. Run those bigger boys at him in the middle. Get Fainu, Pole, and Terrell just running at him all day. Make him work, and he'll get lazy at hooker. And same with Brookes. You just got to work Brooks' inside, make him force the pass, and he'll do those Luke Brook things.
Yeah.
So, just work him hard on the inside and then make him force that error on the out.
What's the plan for Manly against us on the weekend, Joel? Because I can see it happening again. I can see our wingers being targeted. And I know Jordan mentioned earlier that I did send out a message to our chat yesterday, I think, on the average height of our back line. Because when I looked at the starting side, I thought, wow, there's not a lot of height in that back line. And when you look at 1 through to 7, Heath Mason through to Jock Madden, I think it averages out about 5'11", which is not overly tall.
Yeah.
But I just think our wingers are going to be targeted again.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been plenty of games in the past where we've thought, there's going to be some ploy that's going to be used, and then on the day it doesn't really work out as much. I mean, obviously Saab's a big threat in the air. He's like a giraffe and so fast as well. I think the thing is, how often have we been red hot favourites? Like Manly's $1.36. And they're going to look at the form and they're going to go, well, they're still missing 5 guys. They're missing 3/4 of their spine. They've been towed up the last 2 weeks. Maybe all we need to do is just turn up in Brisbane and it's just going to happen for us. And I don't think they're a good enough team to necessarily bring that. And I don't think we're a bad enough team that that's just going to be the way that it works out. I think if we turn up and we can defend and we can be a lot... Obviously, to be a different referee, but not give them any bloody gifts. Like we did some dumb things last week as well, which played into the referee's hands. So really, really cheap really good with our discipline, not giving them anything too cheap, and defend. I mean, if we can defend, then we might only need to score 18 or 19 or 20 points. And that could be the difference. It is also a neutral venue, which is good. I mean, I'm glad it's not at Brookvale, so that's an advantage as well. But as I say, everybody's got them as red hot favourites, and that sometimes can be a little bit of a factor. The other thing too is, and I'm being very optimistic, is that they changed coach. Maybe they got that burst of energy and excitement, and maybe they're sort of getting back into the grind. They had a tough game last week. We just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think they deserve to be favourites, obviously, based on what they've done the last 5 to 6 weeks and what we've done the last couple of weeks. So,
how much of it is genuine talent, and how much of it is just raw energy and enthusiasm from that change?
Well, they've certainly been playing well, and I watched the majority of their game last week, and I was actually quite impressed. I thought they played really well. I thought they looked quite quick out of their ruck speed was really good. They were running the ball really well. I thought Brooksy looked quite sharp.
Yeah.
Like I said a couple of nights ago, I thought Brandon Wakeham actually looks like a very, very good footballer. He's showing a lot of good natural instinct. So I guess when things are going your way, everyone kind of steps up a little bit and looks that little bit better. But hopefully they're a bit off this week. But I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, just on that, just very quickly, momentum. Get some momentum and keep some momentum.
For me, we need to get in the grind, and we need to be in the grind for 80 minutes. And like Jordan said, we can't afford to give Manly the heads up, like we did against the Storm last week and like we let Cronulla run all over us the week before. So I hope we can get in a battle. If we can get in an 80-minute battle, then I'll give us a chance. But I am a very emotional person, as we spoke about the other night, Joel, so I'm probably not going to tip us this week. I'm hoping I'm going to be the mock, and that will prove me wrong, but... we'll get to predictions in a second, but Jordan, there's a couple of forwards that I'm looking at on the team sheet for Melbourne, Taniela Paseka and Big Olakwatu. I can see them being quite destructive, and they're both very talented players, but I can maybe see someone like Latu maybe picking out a tired forward and maybe finding a gap to run through at some point.
Yeah, definitely. That's where the start needs to be important.
Yeah,
we need to wear them down. Olakwatu's a threat. Actually, out of all of Manly, apart from Fogarty's kicking game, the player that concerns me the most, funnily enough, is Ruben Garrick.
Yeah,
he always seems to have a hell of a game against us, but he's going to be on that edge. He's going to be on Madden's side. With KPP back, it makes a little bit of a difference. But I'm concerned about the game on our edges. It's going to be in that 3/4 to the wing where Manly will target. I think we can match them in the forwards at the moment, but that's where the start is important. We have to start. We don't necessarily need to score early. We just got to stop them from scoring. Yeah. And then you're right. Someone like Latu can probably pick out a few of those tired forwards and cause a bit of a problem. And that is also where we need Luai to start straightening up and stop dancing around.
Yeah.
He's starting to, like, I've always liked him as a player, but he's starting to frustrate the hell out of me when he is just, any good defensive team can pick that off. You stand still and just watch and let him decide where he's going, and then you pick him off. He's got to start straightening up.
Correct. Especially when the team's not going forward. It's even more highlighted. You can spot it a million miles away when we're pedestrian, and then he gets it and he's just going around in circles. KPP, he was really, really quiet against the Storm. I'm expecting him to bounce back.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of them bounce back. I'm actually talking about that direct style of football. It's very different, isn't it? Because when we beat the Cowboys in our first game, round 2, Jerome was playing very direct, as was AD. But you're right, our forwards were dominating every game we played for the first 4 to 6 weeks. So I think it's very easy, obviously, for the backs and the halves to take advantage of that. And when you've got teams on the back foot, like teams have had us the last couple of weeks, it's very easy to play straight and just run straight through the middle of us. So, yeah, we definitely need to match up this week and cut down on those missed tackles and plug those holes and not let Manly get off to a cheap start. So hopefully we can do that this week. Well, just one more player I just want to mention on the Manly side, and I'm actually enjoying watching him play. Last week he stood out for me, was Nathan Brown, another former West Tiger. But when he came on off the bench, he's still charging at the line. Like we talk about backfence Bunty, but Nathan Brown was still charging at the defensive line with his eyes wide open like he's a raging bull. I think he's, 32 or something like that. So 33, he's getting on a bit.
He's been around forever.
But he's still playing with a lot of aggression. So good to see from the old man. Hope he doesn't have a great game on the weekend against us. But, I don't mind seeing someone like Nathan Brown.
Just got to get under his skin.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a fuse player. You've got to get under his skin. Get him focused on him going after you and doing something stupid and giving a penalty away.
Is that a rugby job?
I would probably put that down to someone like Alex Twall, to be honest. Just that little bit of niggle, just that little bit of, when he's hitting him, just get, because the one thing if you want to piss off Nathan Brown, especially if he's standing upright in attack, hit him around the hip. Pisses him off. He turns and looks for those players who do that. So I'd be that kind of, if he's holding him upright, hit him down, get him focused on you, and he'll do stupid stuff. But we've got to have more of a focus on just controlling our own game and getting into that grind for that opening 25 minutes.
Well, Nathan Brown, if you're listening, I'm not going to hit you in the hip, mate. I'm too scared that I'll be flattened by you. So I'll buy you a beer, though, if I see you. You're a good fella. Predictions, Joel. I'm guessing you're hoping Tigers are going to win. Are you going to tip us to win?
I'm tipping a close game. And I was pretty confident. Not pretty confident, but there was a little bit of confidence that things might have gone our way last week and the ball might have bounced our way. We're missing a bit of luck as well, so maybe we'll get a bit of luck back on our side this week, and maybe there won't be a forced reshuffle, and there's a strategy going on, and we're going to make some clever plays on the day. I think that Manly is too short, and I don't think there's that much of a gap between the two teams. So I'm expecting a close game. I'm expecting a nail biter, maybe even golden point.
So you're picking a 1 point
difference? I'm thinking something like 19-18.
I hate golden point.
So do I. Jordan, score?
I will tip us. I've never in my life tipped against the Tigers. I always tip us. But I'm not predicting us to win this game. As I said, it depends on how we lose. I think we will show some fight. I just hope we don't allow a period. It's not the whole game we've got to worry about it. There's a period. There's that 10, 15-minute period. I think it will be close. I think there will be a few points scored, especially if it's a dry track at Suncorp. I'm going to predict something around the likes of 30-24.
30-24. Okay, so a couple of days, actually, after the loss to Melbourne, when I put the YouTube short out, I said we're probably going to lose by 20-30, so I can't back down. I am very easily swayed, so listening to you boys, you're giving me a little bit of hope that we might be in the fight a bit longer, but I need to stick true to what I said in my emotional state on Sunday afternoon. I'll pick a 20-point loss. I still think we're going to struggle to score points because apart from Taylor May, I don't see a hell of a lot of attacking points from our side. But I'm going to go. I think Brooksy might score 3 tries this week.
Oh,
Jeez.
I think it might be something like 32-12.
Wow.
We're going to lose. We're going to lose.
You must be fun at parties, Nick.
Yeah,
I'm going to cry my way into the bye. The only good thing is we've got the bye after the Manly game. Does that mean we get a week off, Joel?
Yeah, I think we all need it. Yeah, you especially.
I hope you boys are right. I hope we put up a really good fight, and obviously I hope we win. So let's see what happens. Come on, Tigers, fire up, because I think we all need just a little bit of a lift after the last 2 weeks. I know I've been very deflated, as we all have.
Well, remember, it is the roller coaster, so, maybe we're getting ready for no, not a fall, but at least the high part. Yeah.
We're getting ready for another peak, hopefully. I was just going to say, I'd love to put the West Tigers flags back on the back of my e-bike, because I took them down after we lost to Cronulla and they haven't been back on the bike since. So haven't been finding the flags, which is a bit of a shame.
Put them back on tomorrow. You can't leave the club. You can't ditch them just because we've had a couple of heavy losses.
I'll never ditch the club. It's just, got to save public face every now and then.
Yeah, you're just not publicly backing them.
Anyway, let's go get them at Magic Round, boys. Thanks, boys, for joining. Good to see you, Jordan.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joel.